Alright, let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. This is DieselD199 speaking, and today I'm doing a very special live stream, a State of the Channel live stream, if you will. That's the main channel, not this channel. I'm just going to check before I go on to make sure that everyone can see and hear me alright. If everyone can let me know in the chat that everything is all good, then I will continue on explaining everything. It's good to see so many people popping up here. Let's see how many we've got watching. 27. That sounds like a good place to start at. Yep, everyone can see and hear me. So, over the past several years since I've switched to CGI, I have... Let's click present on this. I have gotten a lot of feedback. Actually, I wonder if that's gonna... No, it's... Yeah, it is. There we go. It's all good. It's all good. I have gotten a lot of feedback where people say that they preferred like the older content or that sort of thing. They don't like the newer videos. And usually I try and engage with these people and sort of like, you know, ask them more specific questions because this is a very vague thing to say. And I recently decided that earlier this week that I would make a Google Forms that people could fill out, and they could then I would ask a whole bunch of questions and I'd get the feedback and then we'd go over it as we are today. And so that's what happened. We got over 300 responses. And so in this live stream, I'm going to go through the responses. I'm going to try and engage with people in the chat as we go. At first, we're going to be looking at just some of the more raw data type stuff. So really exciting things like graphs. And then after that, we'll go through some of the written responses that were given. This is not going to be a super exciting kind of live stream. It's going to be more of a discussion, you know, where we sort of sit down and we talk about just the state of the channel, and I explain why some things are the way that they are, and you know, respond to some of the ideas that people have, and hopefully you know, you guys can stick around and you know, put your thoughts in the chat at different times, and yeah, we'll sort of go through all of this. You know, I would suggest putting on a video game that you can play while you listen to this, and just you can take a look, I guess, at the slides when necessary. Something like Minecraft would be good. Roblox, perhaps, depending on the game. And yeah, so I'm going to get started in this, but before I do that, I am going to just quickly grab my iPad so I do have a way of seeing the chat whenever... There we go. Okay, let me just get the stand for it. Whoops. And then we'll be able to get started with this presentation. I'm sorry, it's not the fanciest presentation going out there. I know Sidekick Jason would be very disappointed with my Google Slides skills, but it was something that I put together pretty quickly. So the first slide, we've got data here that I was just very curious to see. What year you started watching my channel. And there's more or less what you would expect from this kind of data. There's basically like a bell curve type thing. You'd expect that there would be fewer people from the earlier years, more people in like the middle, and less people more recently. And so that's really what I would expect from this. But I was very curious to see just where the bulk of the viewers came in, and what they might be most nostalgic for. And of course you can see the three biggest years here are 2012, 2013, 2014. Let's go on to the next one. You're welcome, TTE Fan 1. I'm glad to see there's some people here from the olden days, Kirby Fan. The next short, we'll talk about that a little later. And we'll get to those sort of questions a little later, but for now we're sort of going to focus on the form. This one, do you enjoy DieselD199's content? It's good to see that 86% of the respondents did say yes. We've got about 12% who said not anymore, and a small number of people decided to fill out the survey even though they don't enjoy my content. So I appreciate that nonetheless. Now we start to get into some of the more interesting things. So this question was, how do you feel about the switch to CGI? And it gave the respondents an opportunity to fill out 1 to 5, from I hate it being number 1 to I love it being number 5. And this was really a very interesting response that I got. So there are some people who are very vocal about the switch to CGI, but 40%, it seems, of people who watch feel positively about it, and then I think it's around about 40%. I think then you've got a big chunk that's sort of ambivalent at number 3, and I think overall these last two were only about 25% when I actually calculated the percentages of it. So that's higher than I would like, but I think I can still win some of those people over with certain improvements to the CGI series. But the screen is frozen. Can you not see the latest slide? Let's see. Let me go to the live. You should be able to see. That would be odd if not. Let me close that then. Maybe it didn't. All right. Okay. Yeah. Maybe it's not picking up the present window. That doesn't matter. Okay. So here we go. How do you feel about the switch to CGI? You can see that now. That's all good. Right. And this was the pie chart for do you enjoy DieselD199's content? So yeah, it seems like most people are either positive or ambivalent about it, and that's really good to see, because that's certainly something that I'm very keen on continuing, as we'll sort of talk about later. This is also very interesting. So this was just select your favorite live action short. That you had the 38 live action shorts to select from, and it's very interesting because the videos that I would have picked out as what I thought were the best live action shorts are the same ones that everyone else said. So Diesel's Ducks and Demons, Full Dream Ahead, and Trick or Treat, which are these 3 here. Some of the other ones that stand out are Attack of the Wooden Box on Wheels, which is number 9. We've also got An Average Day for Thomas here, which was number 19. And these are more or less the ones that I would expect to stand out, and certainly the ones that I feel the most positive about. Yes, I think I remember you, Lego Entertainer. So yeah, those are the most liked live action shorts. I think those are the ones which I have to pay the most attention to, I guess, when it comes to sort of creating new content that people who are sort of nostalgic for the older content will enjoy. But I'm not surprised by the answer, because those are the ones that I think are the best, and so that's really interesting. The next one is the favorite CGI short, and this was quite interesting to me because it's got a fairly even distribution of people selecting it as their favorites. Obviously there's a few standout ones, so Magic Railroad Mayhem, that's a standout one, and I thought that would be a popular video, simply because people had been asking me to make that video for years, a parody of the chase in Thomas and the Magic Railroad. And so I'm not surprised to see that as the most liked one, and I'm glad people liked it. That was a lot of work, that video, and I thought it came out really well. There are two standout ones that didn't do so well, which were Truck or Treat and the Great Bridge Jump. And I would say that I'm also not surprised by that, because those two shorts I would rank as the weakest of the CGI shorts, right? Flash Dawn X, Upside Now makes the music for my videos. So that's... And the thing I would say about Truck or Treat of the Great Bridge Jump, I think with Truck or Treat, I know I did that one quite quickly for Halloween, and I don't think I had quite a strong grasp on what that short was supposed to be. I'm not even sure I had a script for it originally, like when I started it. And as for the Great Bridge Jump, I had a much longer script, but I didn't have time to do it all before Christmas. And so that ended up being a very quick one gag type short, as opposed to something much longer, which unfortunately I didn't get time to do. So it's very interesting to see that those are the two weakest ones, but yeah, I'm not surprised. But overall, it seems like the quality of the shorts seems to be quite fairly even, right? Much more so than if you look at the live action shorts. And maybe that's because people are just more ambivalent to the CGI stuff, I'm not sure. But yeah, it is interesting to see this data. I will take a look at the chat very briefly. I should do the full version. Yeah, maybe I will one day. I wouldn't rule that out. People are excited that apparently the pack is going to come back. What takes more effort, the CGI shorts or the live action shorts? Yeah, it's definitely the CGI shorts take more time to do, certainly, and I am always making progress at lowering the amount of time that they do take. The advantage, though, is that creatively they are much more fulfilling to do. And also, frankly, they do perform better on YouTube, I think. I think if I was making these shorts to the extent that they could be made in live action, I don't think they would be doing quite as well. I think kids these days that are on YouTube are more inclined to animated stuff, simply because it's what it's like it's the culture now. Like if you watch any kids TV these days, it's all animated. I also think it's just like it's more expressive and bright, and I think that there are definitely people making some really amazing stuff with live action toys. I think like Sidekick Jason, for instance, he's a good friend of mine, but his stuff is really bright and vibrant. He makes some amazing sets, and that's just something that I think I would struggle to do. So yes, it takes more effort, but for me, and this was the primary reason I switched, it is more creatively fulfilling, right? Like I was getting bored doing the live action shorts. I'd done them for years now, and I wanted to take things to the next level, and CGI really allowed me to do that. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So, have you watched all of the shorts? Yeah, I was just curious to see, people are answering questions about their favorite ones. What sort of, have they actually watched all of them? And yeah, the majority of people have. Most of the answers that I looked at where people had the option to sort of fill in an answer for this question, were mostly I just didn't get round to it. Occasionally people said that they didn't like the CGI stuff. We'll talk about switching back to the models later, the wooden Wilbert. So yeah, that's just an interesting one. This one is more or less what I expected. What do you want to see more? Overwhelmingly, people say shorts, and I knew that was going to be the answer. It is interesting, I guess, to see the 360 train spotting a little bit higher than the other ones. But yeah, there's not much to talk about here because it's more or less what I expected. Now we're getting into some of the more interesting stuff. So this is, which character do you want to see more? And I think perhaps I didn't phrase this question quite as well as I should have, because I think I think I would have. So the characters that we do actually see are like, Thomas, Edward, Gordon, Toby, Henry, James, Lady, the ones that are really standing out. I'm not sure if people thought that they could suggest characters that had either not been in CGI or had not been in the show at all, which you could do. So I probably didn't do a good job of phrasing this question, and maybe people can give me some feedback in chat about it. But yeah, there's also, I just wanted to point out, we've actually got 2 Thomases here. That's a little odd. I did try to clean this data up so that it would fit better. Sniper Boy said, I chose to handle, but it's not on your graph. So all of the narrow gauge engines I actually just merged together because there was only a few of them. So you can see narrow gauge, yeah. And certainly I think the ones that were suggested were Duke, Duncan, and Sir Handel, which are characters that I quite like, and they would be definitely the ones more inclined to appear if I was to do some narrow gauge videos. Yeah, we've got 2 Timothys here. I'm not sure if Timothy people meant Timothy or Timothy the Ghost Engine. So I prefer season 6, Thomas Studio 75. Well, Edward has been in the series, I think, a reasonable amount. Maybe not as a featured character, and maybe that's something I should do. I don't think I ever really did, now that I think about it, a short where Edward was the main character. We'll talk about doing a Atomic Thomas movie later, I think. Yeah, everyone wants to see Edward. Everyone likes Edward. So clearly I have to put more Edward in it. Toby, yes, absolutely, Toby does need to be in the shorts. And he absolutely will get done this year. I've been needing to do Toby for a while. I have recently been working on sort of the production process so far as it concerns modeling engines, and I think you will get more characters this year. I'm really hopeful that that is the case. So yeah, we definitely need to get Toby in there. The other characters that are doing really well here, Emily, Donald and Douglas. I mean, I would say, I definitely want the numbered, the first 11 engines. I want Donald and Douglas, I want Duck, I want Oliver. Those are the ones I feel really passionate about putting in the series. And I also, I want Emily. And I suspect other easy characters that will be for me to fit in are Daisy, because as you guys know, I made a Daisy shell. It's not quite ready for production. It just needs a bit of work. And I can take DieselD199's chassis and just modify it slightly so that it's Boco's chassis, which is what Daisy was designed to fit on. And then because Daisy and Boco have the same face and the same chassis, it's very easy to make Boco's shell. So Boco's another character very likely to come back in the series. I must say, though, I'm not a super big Boco fan, and I don't know, it looks like no one here is really either. And I don't immediately have any sort of speaking ideas for him, but he would definitely be something that would be there in the background. Here's a suggestion. Maybe do what you did in the TCC episodes, where you use models, but they have animated faces, and maybe animate the trains when they do crazy stunts or something. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. People have mentioned that. I don't have a favorite CGI engine model. Do you mean CGI? My favorite model that I've made DieselD199 is the most recent one, and he is the most well-made model. Yeah. And also just cool, he's got a fully articulated Pinchy that still looks like a toy, That is an interesting idea, the Lego Creationist, but, maybe I'll use it as an inspiration for something. So let's go on to the next one, which is the location you want to see more of. And again, I'm not sure if people thought that they could pick locations that hadn't been seen before. But yes, I mean, the ones that are here, it is absolutely clear. I need to do Knapford Station, and I need to do Tidmouth Sheds. People want to see more Vickerstown, and they are going to get that in the next video, which should be coming out next week. And also Brendam Docks, yeah, which is another one that I would expect, and another one that I know I sort of had to do. So why haven't I done Knapford Station and Tidmouth Sheds yet? I mean, I was sort of looking at this and I was wondering myself, why haven't I done those two sets yet? Because they are very important sets, very prominent sets in the show, and certainly ones that I use quite a bit, and favorite sets of my own, you know. And certainly initially, I just didn't feel like I had the skills to pull them off, and that's why they weren't done initially. I also just haven't had a lot of ideas to do with these two stations. The shorts have been a bit more actiony, and when you have a sort of actiony type event, it does tend to be on sort of long stretches of mainline, or you know, in America or something like that. And so they are. The other thing is like, and this is just true of a lot of things in CGI, is like it takes a long time to make this stuff, then a long time to animate this stuff, and so it takes a super long time to do the actual video. And so when I was working on Vickerstown Station in 2017, I had an idea for a few different things I wanted to use it for, and so, you know, to make that time commitment was something that was much easier to do. I definitely think I need to do Knapford and Tidmouth. The good news is that last year I got to where I wanted to be with respect to what I would call hero buildings, right? Like some prominent buildings in the series. Everything that I've been doing has sort of been an iterative process where I have in my head an idea of where everything should be if I had an infinite amount of time. Not an infinite amount of time to do it, but where I reasonably think I can get the shorts to be that I would be happy with visually. And I think the trains are there. The track is there. The ballast is there. Some of like the girders and stuff, that they ended up being really good. And the hero buildings are where I want them to be. So last year I did Henry's Tunnel, and I did the Viaduct. And, you know, I'd like to see what people say in the chat, but I think that those are really, really good buildings. I designed them in a way where they would be very light weight and efficient. They could render quickly. They could be loaded into the scene quickly, that, you know, because that is a consideration you have to make with CGI. But in addition to that, they also look really good, and they look like toys. They have the molded brick look, which, you know, all these toys have. If you've got any of these brick buildings, I want that molded brick look, and so that's actual mesh. It's not a texture. It would be easier if things were just being textured. And so, you know, now that that is the case, and we can say, okay, I know that this is what I want the buildings to look like, this is how they're going to be made and the style they're sort of going to be done in, I really do think I need to get Knapford Station and Tidmouth Sheds done, and to get some content done on there. I'm not sure what I would do with The Great Discovery yet. I haven't watched The Great Discovery in a long time. It's certainly a short I could imagine doing a parody of. I could imagine doing like a slow motion crashes from it when Thomas like destroys Great Waterton. Yeah, let's push for 60 likes, guys. We got 77 people watching. Thank you all for being here to hear me talk about this sort of stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys like Henry's Tunnel and you like the Viaduct. And therefore, you know, you'll be happy with a kind of Tidmouth Sheds or Knapford Station in that style. So, before we go into the long answer section, because this is all the really easy to correlate data stuff, you know, I will ask, does anyone have any questions about this data here? Any comments that they want to make on this data here? And then we'll go into the long form answer stuff and get really more in depth about these sort of things. Why don't I do a parody of Tobias and the Half Pariah? Maybe someday. I'll have to ask Tynes if he'd be okay with that. Can I say, do a short where Thomas says "Hasta la vista, punk"? Yeah, I don't know if Thomas would talk like that in my shorts. So I still have the models from my shorts. I have all of them, yes, but I do not have them on me. I moved cities in early 2018, and I brought with me some stuff that I could then measure and model up for CGI, but I don't actually have the all of the track and everything. And no, the set has been gone for years now. I do want to do a parody of Tale of the Brave. I basically have one written, but we'll talk about the family-friendly stuff. Will I ever use minis again? Maybe. Do people want to see minis? Yeah, I've definitely thought about making the suspension bridge, and I don't know. I do have the viaduct now, and so I feel like, okay, I've got a cool bridge. I've also got the Vickerstown Bridge as well. So the suspension bridge would be quite low on my list. So for different gauges, it will depend once I've actually got a narrow gauge model to use. But I don't know Liz's username on Roblox, I'm afraid. Article 13, that's actually an interesting question. I will answer that in a second. What was it? Now I've forgotten what I was talking about. Okay, different gauges. So my idea at the moment is that the narrow gauge engines will be play rail. They will be based on the models that were made, and they will just be scaled down, which I can do in CGI. And the small engines, if I were to make them, would be custom play rail models that again would be scaled down. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is, and I can always change my mind because I haven't actually made anything yet for the narrow gauge or small gauge railways, is we make narrow gauge wooden railway, and we make the small gauge, the play rail wind up engines. So, what do you guys think about that? You should really try some CGI horror stuff. I think I get enough complaints about the shorts that I do without adding too much horror to it. Yeah, if I was to do a slow motion crash video, I definitely want to do one about Gordon crashing into the jam tankers. Oh, I'd actually like to replace the Slender engine model with Neville's model. I always thought Neville would be a better Slender engine, but I couldn't remove his face, so I had to use Donald and Douglas in that original short. But now, with CGI, yeah, obviously I can adjust the face. Yeah, we've always got loads of ideas for CGI. It's just a matter of getting around to them. Do you remember Emo Engines? And if so, what do you remember about its production history? Yeah, I remember Emo Engines. I was making that in school when I was quite young, and I didn't have a script for it. I didn't write a script for it. I didn't write a script for the prologue either. I basically made it up as I went along, which is not how I recommend you make videos. But because when I was that age, I really hated pre-production. Now I love pre-production. I like to get things worked out, but I hated it back then. I didn't even want to write scripts. And so it was very much an improvised thing. Well, not improvised. I had a basic idea of what I wanted to have happen, but I sort of wrote it as I went along. I do remember there being quite a gap, I think, between the first part and the second part because I was busy with schoolwork. But yeah, I'm not sure what you would actually want to know more specifically about the production process for it. On the one hand, I think it would be fun to do a remake of it. On the other hand, it's so dated. Emo isn't even really a subculture anymore, is it? I think it's been mocked out of existence. As I've heard it put, they all evolved into hipsters. Will Rosie be coming back, and what will you use it for if so? I don't have any plans for Rosie at the moment. I guess I would like to do a parody of Fastest Red Engine on Sodor. That would be a cool, more recent episode to do a parody of. What I want you to do is show us some secret renders you most likely have and haven't shown us yet. I don't think I really have any secret renders per se. Most of the stuff I've worked on has gone into the final videos. The British Rail 08 class, so diesel, splatter, dodge, that is in a very final stage, and I actually did most of the work for that in like 2016, and then I just never ended up finishing it. But other than that, I don't think there's really too much. I mean, one thing that was for a long time basically nearly done but not finished was the old slow coach model, which Jason lent me in 2017, and I basically modeled everything. I just had to do like the detailing on the bottom of the shell, you know, the brakes and stuff like that. And I finally finished that off this year, and it's going to be in the next video. I don't know if I'll bother to get the Play Rail Red Rosie. It's the same model, is it not, as the pink one, and I can change the color pretty easily. Yeah, I might do a parody of one of Sidekick Jason's videos. I know he was very enthusiastic about that idea, so I'm sure I could get away with doing that. I don't think I would ever make custom models of Logan and Sam. Maybe Sam, but even then, very unlikely. I use both. I use a PC, and I'm reading the chat on my iPad, so I wouldn't want to use Apple products for a computer. But anyway, that's a little off topic. CGI tugs. I don't think that's going to happen. Sorry, guys. Plans for more female characters. Well, yeah, definitely. I think Emily and Daisy are the most likely ones at this point. Yes, I play Minecraft. I played Minecraft on this channel. All right. So let's get on to the long form answers. Oh, I'm actually right down the bottom of the page here. So I asked a couple of questions, and people had the option of writing out long form responses for this. Any updates on Gordon? Yeah, so I haven't worked on Gordon yet. I have been working on my sort of facial animation system, and I have something quite good worked out, and I think Gordon will be coming back this year. Yeah. Gordon will be coming back this year. And so let's go on to just some of these. So the first one is, how do you think DieselD199 should improve his content? So nothing. Not even going to have an answer. A little less Edward acting so gay. See, some people really love that aspect of Edward, and other people hate it. So this is something that we're going to see quite a bit of, a mix of CGI and live action, and I think that's something that we should talk about, is live action in general, and CGI in general, right? I'll answer questions like that, TTE Fan 1, sort of at the end of the channel. Right now I'm going to talk about just the sort of feedback that we got. So, as I spoke about earlier, switching to CGI was something I did for my own creative thing. Like, you know, I didn't sell out. I wanted to do CGI because I wanted to be more creative and do more creative stuff. I wanted to be able to be, you know, a much better director. You know, I wanted to be able to move the camera like I wanted to move it, and be able to control things more finely. And I was interested in doing something different. Right now, I couldn't do live action stuff even if I wanted to. Another reason why I switched to CGI is I knew that I might want to move to other cities at some point in future. And the thing with CGI is all I need is my laptop, which I have right now, and my microphone. And that's it. That's all I need to make these videos. To make new characters, I do like to actually have the toys on me, but that's possible to do. It's possible to bring some toys with me. it's not possible to have an entire set. I don't even really have the space in my current apartment. So I wouldn't rule out ever doing live action again in future, but I certainly could not do it now. If I were to do it in future, the idea of merging it with CGI, doing CGI faces, is that I'm not ignoring you, Lego Entertainer, but this is not a gaming live stream. I got to go over a lot of stuff. There's a lot of pages here, so yeah, CGI faces. I feel like this, the CGI faces actually, like the animating of them is one of the longest parts of the animation process, and so I feel like I'd be getting the worst of both worlds. I'd be getting all the constraints of the live action videos, yet none of the benefit of it being quicker to do. So I wouldn't rule it out, but yeah, I don't know. CGI and live action, as I said, I feel like that would be, and then I have to track all of the faces and all that sort of stuff, and it would be, and that's not stuff I like to do. I don't like to do tracking or whatever, and or rotoscoping, for instance, if the character moves behind something that's in the actual world. So I don't know how keen I would be on doing that. Yeah, I think the most likely thing Mike's DePalto's, which I've thought about a couple of different times, is if I was going to do a live action short, it would probably be something meta, right? It would be about the switch to CGI. Will there be any fog effects in your CGI shorts? Maybe, but volumetrics, which is what things like fog and smoke are very time intensive to do. So this is something that comes up quite a bit, a wider use of characters. Seems it's very Thomas focused. I definitely accept that criticism, and I need to do more stuff with a wider focus. The problem for me has been that I am parodying a lot of the more recent stuff in the show, because there's less to parody in the older stuff, quite frankly. The real old stuff, because it was more well thought through. And Thomas is really front and center in a lot of that stuff, and so he tends to be in my videos as well. But yeah, I will accept that. Another issue, of course, is that I just don't have that many characters at the moment, and you can see add more characters to the CGI short, add Stepney, bring back characters. I accept those criticisms. I would like there to be more characters in it. It's just a matter of getting them made, and yeah, I would like to do some more stuff that's less Thomas focused, and so that's something that I would accept. Please do a behind the scenes video, maybe someday, earning Zebra 2. Aim for a much more mature demographic. So I think that's going to be something like we can see it here, older jokes, that comes up a bit more recent. We're going to talk about quite a lot. Be less restricted and open to older viewing ages with better jokes like the old days. A lot of people asking me in the chat, why is your channel more family friendly now? And so that's a long conversation, but we're going to have it now. Firstly, certainly when I started making videos, there weren't a lot of kids on YouTube. Young kids, really young kids, because you had to watch YouTube on a computer, right? There weren't iPads or iPhones back then. And yeah, I had a much older audience in mind. As time has gone on, particularly over, let's say, the last 4 years or so, I have become very aware, as I think we all have, of just how many kids there are now on YouTube. I mean, kids content on YouTube is now the biggest genre after music videos. Now, another thing, I have to keep that in mind, and we all have to keep that in mind. I think, yes, in order to use the YouTube website, according to YouTube's terms of service, you must be 13 years or older, right? So in some respect, I feel like I'm in the clear, but on the other respect, I feel like in order to be a good citizen of the internet, I don't want to have, when kids stumble upon my videos, I don't want it to be too negative for them. I don't want them to be traumatized by anything. I don't want them, reciting phrases to their parents that are going to get them into trouble or me into trouble. And that's just, I feel that that's necessary as a good citizen of the internet, right? But it's more than that. It's also, as you guys will know, there's a lot of drama in the media right now about kids on YouTube. There was a big thing about the kind of content that kids were watching in 2017. YouTube is only going to come under more and more scrutiny with respect to kids on YouTube, right? That is going to happen. That is happening now. And if I am too risque with what I do these days, it may just be you get demonetized, okay. It may be my channel is deleted. That is something that you do have to be concerned about. So that's something that I have to take in mind as well, right? YouTube has also changed their terms of service with respect to what are called family-friendly characters. And again, that's something we have to keep in mind. Now, my attitude to this is I want to make content that the older fans can enjoy, that have some more mature jokes, but those are not jokes that the kids are going to understand, right? That's really my aim. When I was a kid, I used to watch The Simpsons, and my mother was initially opposed to that. But my grandfather was like, the kids don't understand any of the jokes anyway. And it's true, we didn't. I go watch back episodes I must have seen 10 times as a kid. And it's like watching a new episode fresh because I got none of the jokes in it. I don't want to age restrict my videos because, one, I do believe like there is a content but there is I think if you age restrict it, people have to be something like 17 years or older, and that's not my target audience. Like, I don't want to do adult humor, and I've never really done that. They're going to have significant, I don't believe they can, they're going to have significantly lower views if they're age restricted. It's just not the kind of content that I'm going to do. And I don't think I've ever done really mature content. That's another thing. A lot of people are going to talk about swearing in these comments. There were two shorts that had swearing in them, right? And where are they here? They're the first two. They're certainly not people's favorite shorts. People always bring up, the first, I bring back the swearing. But the fact is that even when I made those shorts with an older audience in mind, people said they did not like the swearing. That's why it's only in those two shorts. I mean, I've only become, say, family friendly, shall we say, since maybe, the CGI shorts, right? And so for all this time, we had no real swearing. I have changed, say, oh my god to oh my gosh, right? Because I know that I don't personally think it's an offensive phrase, but some people do. And I don't think it really changes the meaning of, if Thomas says, oh my gosh. So that's a concession that I have made, and that's the changes that I have made. But really, there was never any swearing in the videos, and so I don't know why people always talk about this. Because people didn't like it when I did it all those years ago, long before the whole concept of family-friendly YouTube was ever really a thing. Right? The TCC had no effect on it or anything like that. I don't know why people always say this when the engines used to swear, because from my perspective, they never really swore. It was two videos. And then I sort of softened some of the other language, damn to darn. I wouldn't say hell anymore, I would say heck. But I don't think that that's really swearing. Maybe some people do. Look, certainly some people find it undesirable that it be in a video with children's characters, and certainly I've made efforts to appease that. It's not like, in the German dub of Thomas and Friends from season 1, where Thomas says, "Zu Hölle mit diesem gute Wagens," or something like that, which means to hell with these trucks. The English people in the English language are a little bit more sensitive about stuff like that, especially I must say, Americans. More so than I think Australians or British people. So, yeah, that is the family friendly thing. One I believe I should be family friendly to some extent because I want to be a good citizen of the internet, and the truth is that there are just so many kids on YouTube these days that never used to be. Two, I gotta do it to comply with YouTube's terms of service more and more. Can't have Thomas swearing. You just can't, according to YouTube's terms of service, really. And three, this is probably something that's going to get more serious as time goes on, not less serious. As more kids use YouTube, there's going to be more and more pressure brought to bear on YouTube to monitor this content. And so if you guys want me to not be deleted in future, that's sort of one of the things you got to take with you. So, not going to be doing mature demographic or swearing. Pop culture references, yeah, sure. I used to do that usually around Halloween, but I would like to have more of that as well, I guess. I would like it to be more funny that the older audience can get it, but I'm not doing mature content. So, this is about more characters and more locations. Again, I really want to do that sort of stuff. This is again talking about the funniness of the older shorts. I do think I can really replicate the funniness of the older shorts in a reasonably family-friendly manner. Maybe I haven't done that so well, but I do so far. But I do think I can do that. So this guy says, you said it yourself, you could make things such as Kirk Ronan, a larger, more detailed Knapford CGI with the power of CGI, Knapford Station with the power of CGI, yet here we are with pretty much every episode focusing on Thomas and other ideas as opposed to some of these things you've previously mentioned. I simply think you would stray a little bit away from all over the place and make shorts that focus more on characters that we have not seen a lot of. Enough with the shorts focusing on Thomas for now, focus on characters we haven't seen since the model series. Focus a little bit more on your roots, but don't feel constrained to have to do this. The occasional short features focusing on Thomas or parody is welcome. So yeah, we basically talked about this. Yes, I want to do more locations. I always want to do more characters. And I do think I have made advances, particularly with respect to characters, that will allow me to get more of them out in future. So yeah, some people had to bring back the toys, they had charm. Bring back the models, they had charm. Bring back more orange characters. Slender Engine, yeah, I think he'll come back at some point. Back to the toys. Yeah, focusing on the dialogue stuff from live action. I definitely do less live action videos, right? Less talky stuff. Now, one of the things I do actually want to point out, and I want you guys to respond in the chat about this specific thing. Save your other questions for later. Here's the thing. In my opinion, the most like a live action short, which I have done in CGI, is... Actually, you know what? Before I answer that question, you guys post in the chat right now. Which short, CGI short, do you think is the most similar to the old live action stuff? Which one? Which of all these CGI shorts, which one is the most similar in like comedy style or whatever to the older videos? 49, Star of the Special. That's an interesting choice. I said that in my last stream, Lego Entertainer. It seems to have really affected you. Star of the Special, Tedious Tale of Tedious. That's an interesting one. Decade of Madness. Yeah, that's very meta, and I didn't used to do that, but yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying there. 39. 49. Star of the Special, Magic Railroad Mayhem. Short 50, 42, or 43. So Shed Y4083. Come on, Thomas in America is nothing like any of the stuff I used to do. Tale of Timothy gave you Slender Engine vibes. Decade of Madness. Well, I'll give you the answer of what I think is the most similar one. The one I think is the most similar one is Thomas, Percy, and the Pony, Short 46. And some people said that, but not a lot of people did. And as you can see, Thomas, Percy, and the Pony is, it's, as I said, we have a fairly even distribution here, but it's on the lower end. And so that's really interesting to me, because I felt writing that video, this is something I want to do for the older fans, that I think is very similar to the older stuff. Like, it had these scenes, because we're just talking about like dialogue stuff where Thomas and Percy are just talking. It had a little bit more of a story, like had an overarching story, which we're going to talk about more. Some people did say that. Yes, some people did say that. The dialogue was most similar, but there wasn't even that much dialogue. That's the thing. And it was very slapstick humor, that one, which I never used to even be able to do. Maybe people don't like Thomas, Percy, and the Pony because it's technically a My Little Pony crossover. That may well be the case. And there will definitely be a follow-up to it at some point. But, yeah, I used Edward, I'm mixing up the comments now. I used Thomas's Tommy face as the basis. It didn't look very good, so I switched to CGI after that. So yeah. Well, I mean, that's very interesting that people don't think that that was the most like it. A Decade of Madness is another one that I would give you, but that was very meta. And, it was sort of very deliberately like that. But I remember talking to Enterprising Engine 93 about it, either after it just came out or before, and sort of saying, like, this is not the most action-y short. It is much more, I feel, like the older content. And, he kind of agreed, and he was like, yeah, and I hope that you are able to still get the views on it, maybe. And that's, I was wondering, like, stuff I've done so far has been pretty action-y. Like, if I do something like this, is it still going to get those kinds of views? I think at the end of the day, it has ultimately been successful. I think it was a little slow to start. But I definitely felt like that was a very live-action styled short. But that's interesting that people don't agree with me. And some of the things people have said is very weird. Well, that was on Twitter, Mr. McHugh. Right, that was on Twitter. That was not on YouTube. It was on Twitter. And that was because I only have older fans on Twitter, right? Because kids don't have Twitter. Yep, I have Daisy basically done. She just needs a couple days work to clean her up, get her ready for animation. Yeah, Spencer I would definitely like to do something with. But this is the thing, I didn't curse Queen Emily. I cussed maybe, like, but I only ever use swear words that I consider swear words. The F word, B word, S word in the those first two shorts. Lego Entertainer, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I said damn in a stream. Damn, a stream is not a short. Okay, we're talking about the shorts. We're not talking about the live streams. No, I do understand short 48 as well. Yeah, but I think you have to be 13 to use Twitter. That's most stuff. Alright, so I think we'll go back to this sort of stuff. Switching to toys and CGI. Thomas content to parody outside of the specials. Yeah, I guess I focus on the specials because, well, really they're the big exciting thing that everyone's talking about in the fandom, right? So yeah, there are certainly episodes I guess I would do, and I do the more generalized parodies, but I mean that's an interesting point to make. Mini movies. I mean, what's a mini movie exactly? So we can talk about this. Cut back on the slow motion videos. I certainly did spend a little bit too much time last year on the slow motion crashes, doing like the original ones. The first two, the Timothy one and the Cole one, I actually quite enjoyed doing, and they weren't just for the sake of getting views. It was also about developing a system whereby I could do crashes in my shorts much easier and much better. And so that was sort of experimenting with that. And I do have a much better idea about how to use the physics engine in order to achieve cooler crashes and stuff like that. The thing I will say about, firstly, the draft animations, they require no effort on my part, and half of them have more views than the original short. So I will keep uploading those. If you don't like them, that's fine. I get that. Like, I don't rewatch the draft animations, but I don't know why they do better, but they just do. Just ignore them. The slow motion crashes and the 360 degree crashes, unless I'm making that crash from scratch, the fact is that I don't spend a huge amount of time on them compared to the shorts. I do them because I want to have, firstly, if they get a lot of views, it benefits the shorts. It benefits everything on the channel, right? It contributes to having an overall healthier channel. But I want to get the most amount of content that I can out of the time I do spend on the animation, on the shorts, right? It takes a long time to do this stuff. And so if I can get more minutes, runtime minutes, on the channel, you know, making sure all the content is doing well and we're getting good views, that's important to me, and that's why I do those kinds of videos. I know they're not to everyone's liking, but please understand that they're not really taking up a huge amount of my time to do. So don't worry that I'm just not working on shorts because I'm working on them. Certainly last year I did do a bit of that, but it's not quite as much as you think it is. All right, good night, Montague. All right. Then increased length of diversity of content. Well, I've got all these different, you know, I've got the draft animations, the crashes, and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, the diversity of content is there now. People don't like that. Feels a little slow. Focus on longer form stories. Yeah. Making the videos longer is not really something that is within my ability. I'd like to have 5-minute long videos. I don't know how easy that will be to do consistently. Would it be possible to do an entire short in a 360 degree video? I think you will be very happy with some of the content that I have upcoming, Mr. McHugh. Alright, less crashes, more storytelling, right? Make the channel appear more family friendly. That's interesting. Get some helping animators. I'm not totally opposed to that. I will say this. I've thought about having people work on the videos other than myself. Hiring people to do certain stuff. It's not something that I'm thinking of doing immediately, but maybe in future. We'll see where things go. Oh, this is interesting. Poor Upside Now. His music is being criticized. The music's a bit overbearing. It's definitely very orchestral at times. I think it gets very cinematic at times. Yes, I think that maybe it could be simpler in certain places, but overall I think he does a fantastic job. And yeah, I think that I'm sure you are up for that, Light and Cole. But yeah, I really do like his music, and I do know what you mean in that it can be very like intense cinematic music, but I don't think it's such a detracting factor. And I think that like if you look at something like Thomas Percy and the Pony or A Decade of Madness. I think the music worked really well on that, and it wasn't sort of overbearing the sort of more original humor. More original stories instead of parodies. Yeah, so the way I see it, I do two kind. The show itself is a parody, right? Thomas and Friends. Sometimes I'm doing more very specific parodies about specific things that happen in the show, and sometimes it's more general parodies about the franchise as a whole. I've certainly been focused more on the specific parodies recently, but yeah, I do think I should balance that a little bit better. Have Thomas be a little more mean-spirited. That's interesting. I've seen people say the opposite. So a lot of this stuff, he shouldn't, as great as it is. Thank you, guys. Live action models. Yep. Yep, I definitely agree with that. I like the shorts more than anything else. I know that everyone else does as well. Content is fine as long as he's happy he's producing with it. That's a very positive attitude. Okay. So yeah, the backgrounds are extremely bland with the same copy-paste trees and grass. Trees don't even feel themselves like they're on Sodor. Okay, I absolutely know that the backgrounds are bland, right? The music is bland. I'm reading the chat and I'm getting confused now. The backgrounds are bland. The music is amazing. So one of the reasons I haven't really focused on that sort of stuff, because people I'm sure would prefer more characters, more actual locations and that sort of thing. I know that the backgrounds are bland. I don't want them to be so bland. I have an idea of where I want them to be. They will still be toy trees. I want this to feel like a toy-like universe. I don't want them to be realistic trees. And that kind of makes things more difficult, because then I have to actually make all these trees myself as opposed to just buying stock trees, which I could do if I was just using realistic trees. This has some advantages because the toy trees tend to be less heavy for rendering. With trees, you've got thousands of leaves and all these transparencies, and that's a lot for the render engine to handle. But yes, I understand about the backgrounds. I do want to improve on that, but it is just a low priority. That's just all there is to it. I think that with Magic Railroad Mayhem, I really tried to make those sets look better with the assets that I already had, right? As opposed to making anything new. They were a little bit of a step up. It's obviously not where I want it to be finally, but yeah, I agree with you completely. The backgrounds are extremely bland. Oh. So less like a railway and more like the Lego Movie. The Lego Movie, look, if I had infinite time to work on it, the Lego Movie is what I would want the shorts to look like, right? Like scratches and all this sort of like grime all over the engines, fingerprints and stuff that you can see. And yes, I could do that, but it would take a lot of time. Like, it would be cool if you could see all of the seams on all of the plastic molds, and have really like hyper-realistic, or not hyper-realistic, realistic, like photorealistic trains. It would be great if I could do that, but that takes a lot of work to get things to that stage. I'd have to spend loads more time texturing than I do now, and yeah, it would be cool, but I just don't think it's practical. Hey, considering this is CJI, does that mean that we know who wrote this? But yeah, mostly the same comments. Upload more frequently. Commentaries, discussion, behind the scenes, collaborations. Yeah, I'm not going to be a commentary channel. I am going to say that outright. I'm just not really interested in doing that. There are a few videos that I would like, commentary videos I would like to make. But I don't think that's ever really going to be something I do in any large amount. Go pester Unlucky Tug to come back. He made the best commentary videos. Bait content. I wouldn't really... A lot of people use the phrase clickbait with not really knowing what it means. Something is clickbait if like the thumbnail is misleading to what's actually in the video. So you see a lot of, say, live stream fail videos where the thumbnail kind of implies that there's going to be a naked girl in the video, but there isn't really, right? That's clickbait. What do you believe you can help me with, Xavier? Alright, later, Technical Fresh. Unlucky Tug just, I think he isn't really interested in doing the commentary stuff anymore, especially with the place the show is at the moment. Do you think they should have added more female engines instead of removing team members? I don't know. They could have added more berths to Tidmouth Sheds. I mean, Lego Entertainer, I don't know why you're so determined to prove that I'm cussing all the time. Oh, Substance Painter. Yes, I am aware about Substance Painter. Right, I know about Substance Painter and Substance Designer, and you know, maybe I will go and learn how to use them. You got to remember though, if I'm adding all these texture maps, Xavier, I'm now making that's all a whole bunch of extra calculations that have to be done at render time, and it's a whole bunch of extra texture maps that then have to be loaded into render. Now also consider this. I have a piece of track, a straight piece of track. That track is then like instanced all over the scene. How many different instances of that track do I need to have, right? Because I'd have to have different scratches, otherwise they'd all have the same scratches and fingerprints on them. So that's like something else that I then have to think about, that I then have to develop. Yeah, I have to write a script to like automatically swap them out randomly. There's other stuff I need to do first before I can think about adding scratches and fingerprints, even though it would be really cool. See an engine falling apart. I thought about doing something like that, but not in the way that you expected. Oh, you didn't know I was going to live stream this? I did say that on Twitter. Do you think there should have been a better live action short transition? That's an interesting question. I didn't really... Here's the thing. When I first made the first CGI short, I did not know whether there would be a second one. When I started working on it, at least. So it wasn't really evident to me that I should make a transition. Will you ever release the CGI Tommy track? Release it for what? What episode of Thomas and Friends do you really want to spoof in future? Oh, I don't know. I've got a few ideas lined up at the moment you might see soon. Yeah, I know. You should have peeling off paint, red showing through the buffers, all that sort of stuff, chip on the running board. I know. I have experimented with it a little bit in the past, and I thought, yeah, this looks pretty cool. But again, it's the amount of work that you would have to do, right? It's the amount of work you would have to do. And I'm sure you guys want more locations, more characters, better backgrounds before you want Thomas with scratches and paint chips. Alright, I think he's doing fine. Good plays. Improve. Try his hardest to do so. Improve the quality, possibly the quantity of the videos, absolutely. Quantity, absolutely, yeah. Live action content, yeah, okay. CGI remake of Full Dream Ahead, I'd definitely be down for that. But I do not have the big Thomas on me at the moment, so I can't get any measurements from it. Yeah, more behind the scenes videos. Maybe I'll do that stuff in future. It doesn't really interest me, and it sort of requires effort from me. The draft animations don't require any effort. So I'd rather make new videos and spend time on behind the scenes stuff. Alright, more characters, familiar locations, fine as is, good already. Do some runaways in some shorts, and people don't want me to do chases. Less draft animations, just the same short but worse lights. Again, draft animations don't require any effort from me. There's actually a really good comment about hiring voice actors that we'll talk about later. A few more update videos, maybe. Actual stories. As you see, like, this is a very long document, but we're going to be going over the same stuff. More shorts parodying current things. Okay, that's interesting. Shorts with one punchline, or shorts that simply show off CGI graphics, Thomas in America. Yeah, okay, yeah, we sort of talked about that earlier. More shorts about the Fat Controller being murdered. Less self-aware, more down to earth. An interesting comment. Make the sets more crammed together. Instead of boring CGI mainline sets, make it look like an actual toy set with tracks and switches and elevations. Maybe some things like Lego blocks and something for set dressing. Make it look like it was built with someone who had a limit of track instead of just like CGI series and Tommy style. Okay, this is a really good comment. So here's the thing. So far as the sets go, I'm not 100% sure what I even want. Right? I'm not 100% sure what I want. I don't entirely know what I want the final sets to look like. I got an idea of like what the background, the sort of scenery type stuff I want to do is. I've sort of been conflicted. It's like, on the one hand, do we make the shorts as they appeared in the show, and then is it as they appeared in the CGI series or before that? Do you make them bigger than that, big expansive sets? That's something I was very keen on originally in CGI, but I'm less keen on now. Then the other thing is like, maybe I should just make a sort of super cool train set. On the one hand, that would be very good for doing old school shorts. I think it would be really cool. I think it would be really fun to film on. I definitely do want to do it one day. But I'm not sure how much effort and time I should spend on something like that. Because, okay, let's say I do a set like that. A lot of the parodies that I would like to do, say from Big World, Big Adventures, I couldn't possibly do on that set. Right? Any sort of long chase scene, because everything's so close together, it's much harder to do. One of the things I thought about is, well, we should just have one cool big toy train set, and we can use that when we want, and we can use the other stuff when we want. That kind of involves making duplicate things. Like, I can't have a really big viaduct, for instance. I'd have to make a smaller Vickerstown station. So I'm kind of struggling with this myself. And then for the actual normal sets, what do I want them to look like? I having watched season 3 and 4 and really focusing on like the amazing sets that they had then, I've sort of been thinking I should make things more crammed together. I should make things feel more tight. I don't want to have these huge expansive main lines anymore. I do want something when they're on the main line that feels a bit more cozy. Oh, you was the one who said the thing about the cram sets, yeah. And I've spoken about this on stream before, and you know, you guys can let me know right now, what kind of sets do you think I should make? Should they be sets based on that as they were in the model series and the CGI series? Should I make big expansive sets instead? Should I do one big set, right? One big set, like a big toy set like I used to film on? Or should perhaps one of the things I was like is like, okay, we're gonna make individualized sets, but for example, Tidmouth Station, Tidmouth Sheds, and Tidmouth Tunnel will all be visible from one another. It'll be much more compressed. Yeah, and so Vickerstown was kind of what I was going with, that it was sort of a mix. I know there is no town, I just didn't have time to do those buildings. I would like to do them more in future. Spiral set, yeah. Make one big toy set, mix of our railway series and model series, giant set like you used to, parody of a Thomas YouTube poop, model series. Yeah, big spiral thing. I thought about doing something like that somewhere. More toy-like things. Yeah, see, with Vickerstown, right, like, my idea was, okay, we're going to take the original CGI set, and then we're going to kind of... Because Vickerstown is kind of crazy and over the top, I wanted to add some crazy over-the-top things, like the spiral tracks. I also merged Vickerstown Yard and put it next to Vickerstown, as opposed to them being separate sets in the CGI series. Test all the styles and use the one you like. That's a little bit more difficult and time-consuming than you'd want it to be. Yeah, that's the problem with CGI. You have too many options. Multiple sets, smaller scale, less expensive locations like Tibness Sheds and the station visible from one another, yeah. Lego holding up brick rises after things run out. I don't know that I want to mix toy brands. Well, obviously I do mix brands because I use Play Rail and Capsule Play Rail, but I don't know that I want to put like Lego bricks and stuff in it. Maybe make a big shunting yard, yeah. Alright, well, people also seem fairly undecided about it as well, so something I'll have to keep struggling with. Hiring an animation studio. Well, maybe not a studio, but maybe some animators. That's again about voices. We'll talk about that later. Steam. I don't even know if I really want it for aesthetic reasons, because I want it to still feel kind of toy-like. Yeah, I've definitely considered Brendam Docks, my dude. Wellsworth Season 5 model is very specific location, but maybe. Yeah, I'll get onto more Roblox streams a little later, Ending Zebra. I wouldn't do it with walls if it was one big set, by the way. It would be... The set, I guess, would be designed... It would be kind of square-like, I guess, but yeah, you would have, like, the bounding hills in the sky. It wouldn't have walls, I don't think. I don't think I want to do it that way. Maybe the Arsdale engines. That would be a lot of work. Narrow gauge first. Where was I? I have now forgotten what I was talking about. This is the problem with these things. I get mixed up. Maybe someone can remind me in the chat. I'm not going to do reaction videos. Steam, that's what I was talking about. Yes, volumetrics, as I was talking about earlier, like Steam, it's expensive to render in terms of like computer power. I don't think it really adds anything. Maybe in future I'll look into it. It's not a priority for me. I just don't aesthetically think it's worth it. Tender Engines United again. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, and I think maybe we'll get back to Tender Engines United at some point. The parodies date. That's an interesting criticism, and I suppose that is true, yeah. Model videos. More characters. See, more realistic grass, trees, and rocks. I want it to look toy-like. It's not going to be realistic trees or realistic grass. I don't want that. Variety of characters, more shorts, more Thomas being a swear word, more swearing, more swearing, more suspense. That's interesting. Needs more charm. New short, Edward subs to PewDiePie. Make sure you subscribe to PewDiePie, guys. We can't let T-Series win. Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of the same stuff here, even if it is a longer comment. Narrow gauge engines. I would definitely like to do it at some point. I think this year I may do at least one narrow gauge video. I have at least one in mind. WWE content, yeah. Okay. Shorts with an overarching plotline. That's what I loved about the toy era of your content. Every short was funny, and almost all of them could be watched out of context. But the fact that, when watched in order, the world building and plot lines are a joy to behold. Whether it be the big Demon and Slender Engine arcs, or even just the running gag of how Toby never fixed his shed, it was a wonderful treat to see and laugh at in the case of Toby. I missed that in the CGI shows, the continuity and the plot that has made your series amazing in my eyes, since the humor behind it made me love all the characters tenfold. That said, it's a great break of pace for more humorous one-off shorts, and it can't all be that, otherwise it just doesn't work in my eyes, sadly. But in your series at the end of the day, and then some stuff about the older cast. So this is a great point, and this is something that I agree with. I just really need to sit down and figure out a longer overarching thing, I think. That's certainly not something that I did originally, by the way. It just sort of happened that I was in a mood, I guess, to make this sort of overarching things and just build it one off the other, as opposed to have one big story and then cut it up into shorts. But yeah, I've definitely thought about how I might do... See, the other thing that that I'm sure has been mentioned is do a movie. Which is very impractical, but what might be practical is to, say, write a half an hour long special and then cut it up and work on it one short at a time. One of the reasons why that sort of hasn't occurred, I think, is because the shorts have been... The quality of the live action shorts didn't really change all that much. It was fairly similar. I feel like if you look at A Brony on the Line and then you look at No Place But Home, there's obviously a huge quality difference. And so when you're watching it back to front, and because it is so iterative for me when I am working on it, I think it's just sort of made me less inclined to do sort of overarching stuff because it looks so different once you watch it back to back. So I'm wondering what you guys think on that, but yeah, I would like to do more overarching stories, and that is a good point. Models had charm. Reintroduction of Obamacare. See, some people like Thomas. Some people think he should be less mean, self-centered, that sort of stuff. I guess there's kind of a balance I have to walk. Will engines that have static rods have moving ones in my show? I don't know. I will probably keep them static, true to how they were as a model. I certainly would not be making moving rods that are super realistic. Like, take Hanks or take Murdoch, for instance, right? I wouldn't make him have like a proper valve gear or whatever, proper coupling rods, right? I would have to make them so that they are like other toy coupling rods. Lady and Thomas defeat Diesel 10 with superpowers. Full-length episodes, yeah. Again, it's more realistic that I do, say, 2 5-minute shorts that carry over to one another. You don't need to change everything. You're the best, Trent Stanley. Thank you, I appreciate it. Pretty good. So you see, there is a mix of stuff in here. There are a lot of people saying that they're happy with it, but there is a lot of things that we've gone over. Oops. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to very quickly fill up my glass with some more water, and then we're going to go on to the next question. Alright, so if you like DieselD199's content less now than you do before, what do you think has changed? And what do you think you should try to bring back? So there will invariably be crossover with the last question, but episodes, so longer ones. Yeah, again, the model stuff. So I'm reading this longer comment here. content feels a little too cookie cutter and predictable. That may be true, yes. And certainly I should make it a little bit more interesting. This wasn't... I do remember reading this comment earlier. Some sort of charitable venture in future. It could do wonders in bringing a rather divided community together. That is interesting. What... I am open to that idea of doing some sort of charitable venture at some point. A lot of YouTubers, you know, they do like charity live streams and that sort of thing. The problem with it is we are a very small community, and I'm sure we could raise some money, although look how the whole lady prop thing turned out. I don't feel we could raise a huge amount of money. It wouldn't certainly be very... Because we are very small, a lot younger people that don't have a lot of money. That's one of the differences from, like, say, someone who has an older audience doing a charity live stream, even if it's they have a similar number of subscribers. It's not that I'm not open to it. I'd like to find a charity that would be relevant to what it is that we do. But yeah, charitable venture it's an interesting comment, and it's different. I'm just not sure how quite it would work in our, just given the nature of our community in terms of size and age. Yep, continuity, yep. More adult humor. Thomas is just some cynical jerk and it feels forced now. I don't know. Edward is horrible now. I feel like Edward was the same he always was. I don't feel like Edward's personality has changed. Maybe it's a little less explicit, but I'm interested what you guys think. The characters don't interact like they should, I think, because they just don't do that much interaction, and I do need to fix that. You must do a lady prop short, yeah. Models, they had charm, toys. Weird Edward. Yeah, I think it's the personalities of the characters are still there. I think the shorts just don't really let them shine through quite as much. More characters, yep. Charm. I do want to point out about A Decade of Madness. I wasn't saying that all of the criticisms Thomas and Percy make are right. I was more addressing them. I think that there are points to be made, but I don't think that's entirely my feeling. Due to how long it takes to make each short, serial-esque, continue previous plots, popular Thomas trends. Yeah, so again, this is with the continuity stuff. Charm, kid-friendly. The epic layout, yeah. See, I mean, this is not very detailed. If it had examples, I might be able to respond to it. This is the I feel section. Uninspired. This is an interesting point. I feel like as though some of the work on the CGI have felt somewhat uninspired due to the time-consuming hard work that goes into the visuals. I definitely think that's a valid point. And I would say, reflecting on my own work, is I was talking about Truck or Treat, that was not an inspired short, and it was partly because I wanted to get a video out for Halloween, and yeah, I think maybe working in CGI just takes more creative energy out of me that then doesn't go into story, while filming for the original shorts was fairly rudimentary. And so that's something I should keep in mind. I mean, I don't think I really bash Mattel in my videos. I'm curious to what exactly he thinks is an example of that. Like parodying the more recent stuff. But I parody older stuff as well, you know, and I like that stuff, and a lot of the stuff that Mattel's made I do like, or has been made under Mattel. This was a weird comment. This person seemed to think that I should make the toy models look more like the TV show. I definitely like the toy-like feel. I have made improvements to it. Like Thomas is an example of that, and I do make some improvements to the models, but I do want it to. I don't want them to have like TV series proportions or anything. I kind of think that like the squashed, funny look of like the Playro one sort of adds to the humor. So I'm not entirely sure what he means by that, but yeah. Hello, it's Percy Tank. The pony storyline with Percy leaving Soda will be resumed at some point. The shorts will never be arranged into seasons. No, I don't think that's going to happen. More parodies where he makes fun of a sequence from Thomas film, e.g. The Great Race. These are kinds of things he should bring back, as I would love to see him do another parody from The Great Race. I mean, yeah, okay. So he's saying I should do more parodies from the specials. Just not as funny. Yeah. I feel as though this is where the majority of your time goes, just so you can get a video out at least every month. It's not that much time. Like, the funny thing is, last year, when I had these slow motion crashes and these the 360-degree video before Magic Railroad Mayhem, I was working on Diesel 10, which was like surprisingly very difficult to do. I was working on the Viaduct, Henry's Tunnel. I even started working on the watermill, but then ended up just not using it. I don't head anyone Lego Entertainer. What happened to Bill and Ben? I don't know. Did Thomas kill the children in corn and syrup? No, of course not. He would never do that. CGI video is definitely more complicated. Yeah, Queen Emily. It's interesting when you see people spell Audrey this way. Let's see. I think he unsubbed from Pewds. Back to toys. More characters. Kitty fights. Switch to CGI. Gimmicky. Alright, so here's a really long one. Lost sense of storytelling. Yeah, it's more. Yeah, I think we've discussed a lot of this stuff as well. I appreciate the longer answers, by the way, guys. But yeah, as I said, we've touched on this. More story. Again, this is talking about more characters, more charm, the plot line, yeah. Doesn't like Thomas being a douche. Yeah, live action basically. Do more gunpowder jokes, someone in the chat says. Yeah, maybe. How's it going, Thomas Elvero? Henry, I don't think is the kind to pull pranks on the other engines. What the H? Maybe. Alright, CGI in real life, yes, yeah. If I miss any comments that you think I should address, by the way, guys, just tell me. Yards look more busy, yeah, that's sort of part of expanding sets, which I know I need to do. Family friendly. Overarching plotline. Yeah, I definitely want to have a better balance between overarching plotline and the more one-off parody type stuff. Creative stories, Diesel, Ducks and Demons, yep. Yeah, we definitely got to add more characters, make the jokes less repetitive, I guess. Again, yep, location related stuff. I feel like, see, this is the thing, yeah, I do really feel like Thomas hasn't changed that much, but I could be wrong. Maybe he's been Flanderized, as they say. Problem is, there's just less jokes, and the ones there are just aren't as funny. Look at Trouble at the Yard, for instance. Each joke just hits you with joke after joke. Yep, no place for home is unsettling. Far between. So this is a sort of a question, I guess, about like, or a comment, I should say, about like the spacing of jokes, but I guess the style of jokes, which we sort of touched on with the family-friendly stuff, but the spacing of them throughout the shorts. And yeah, I mean, I definitely want to have something with more jokes in it, I guess. I do want to have a lot less, I don't know, one-off or one punchline joke videos. Don't have proper conclusions. That's an interesting thing to talk about. Style of humor, family-friendly stuff. Meaning or goal to it. That's interesting. Yeah, okay, so a much more traditional story format there. Beginning, middle, of end, problem, thing that had to be solved, yeah. Yeah, don't worry. The TCC is not having that much of an impact on it. I still want the older audience, obviously. Yeah, focus on Thomas, more characters. All right, so here is a question. I think he said it was Big Engines 87 wrote, and the main thing he was talking about, I mean, he talked about some stuff that we already spoke about, better locations and all that sort of stuff. He talked about voice actors and his own experience with it. I just don't can't be bothered with voice actors. I'm going to be honest with you. This is something I've been asked about a lot of the time. The reason I've just never done voice actors is, one, because then I have to, audition everyone and find all the voice actors every time I need a character. And if someone drops out, then I need to, hit everyone up with scripts, and then I need to chase everyone up for lines, and then I get the lines back, and then I have to edit them all, and I have to do the noise, remove the noise, and then I have to follow up for when the line isn't good. And what if I want to change a line as I'm working on the video? Then I have to go and talk to someone. And of course, the audio is all recorded with different microphones in different environments, and none of it ever sounds the same. And I'm not an audio engineer, so I can't really try and fix it. This is why I don't use voice actors, because it's just a huge amount of work, and I hate this work. I don't even like sitting down and recording the lines myself all that much, right? Like, I do the lines, and then I got to go through and process them, but at least it's all been recorded in the same environment with the same microphone, and I know that microphone is going to be good quality. If I ever need, it gets done when I want it done, and when if I ever need to fix anything or change anything, I can always get it done. I don't have to wait for people to send me lines. It's just too much work, and I just don't think it's worth it. And I understand that some people think it would be better with voice actors, and it may well be. But I just don't think it's worth the work. I really don't. Alright, so this was just for additional thoughts, and I don't think there's going to be too much here. Okay, so this is talking about the word Tomica. That's interesting. Yes, Tomica is the die-cast range, and the motorized range in the West was called... I know that the word Tomica was sort of associated... Look, this was an idea I came up with when I was 13. Don't hold me to this. But I know Tomica was associated with this brand. Okay, great series. Someone who likes the CGI series. Love it. A lot of people. Voice acting, yeah. I think your voice acting is spectacular success of your series. I don't even need voice actors. Yeah, one day, I will do the short where CGI Thomas meets model Thomas. No, I don't think Timothy's going to have a big plot. Again, this is more about the older humor, family-friendly stuff. And there's a lot of nice comments here, guys, and I really appreciate them. But yeah, I didn't expect to have a lot of detailed stuff to go over. What was this one here? Story-wise, charm, yep. What? Percy and James's face could be better. Henry needs to be less chubby. I feel like the faces are fairly accurate. I did my best to replicate them. So yeah, maybe they could use some work, but I'd rather make new characters. It's actually quite hard to sort of adjust the face after you've settled on it and made all the shape keys for it. Oh, this is really nice to see. One of the reasons I want to major in film direction when I go to university. Thank you for watching, dude. I really appreciate all the nice comments that are in here. Down with Cheap Ugly Trackmaster Revolution. Okay, so this is a more negative one. Yeah, again, I do want it to be toy-like. So that's why. Why did you swear in earlier shorts? I just wanted to experiment with it. I thought it was funny. A lot of people didn't like it, though, as we talked about earlier. So the last one, this again, additional thoughts on DieselD199 himself. Now, you might ask, why would you even ask that question? That seems a little weird. The reason I asked it is because I have, certainly since the TCC became a thing, gotten the feeling that there had been sort of like a negative shift in attitude towards me that I just didn't experience before the TCC. And I feel like it is largely... I mean, the TCC and the CGI stuff started around the same time, and so there might be linked, but I feel like it's very much come as a result of working on the TCC. And I think it was important just to say now, to clear some stuff up about it. Firstly, the TCC is not my idea. I don't produce it. The TCC was an idea of someone who's not in the fandom, and is produced by someone who's not in the fandom. I have done a lot of writing for it, but I have a lot of constraints that I have to write in, and you know, it's not the show that I would make for the official channel. I also think that a lot of people had a negative attitude towards me because maybe they felt like I was hogging roles in terms of voice acting and writing. And I think it's because partly for people who don't make their own videos and who do want to be involved in the TCC, like, I understand, like, if I had not been asked to be in the TCC, I'd definitely be jealous, right? Because I definitely want to be in the TCC, or at least work on it at some point. So I totally understand why people would have been jealous about that, like, because I know that it would have been the same for me. I don't agree that people should have been quite so negative, not just towards me personally, but about it in general as a result of that. And I do think with some people that has been the case. I will say that for the people who were respectful, for the people who actually asked to be involved in the TCC, we always made the most effort to accommodate them, if we could, if their skills permitted it to. But at the end of the day, it's not my show. I don't produce it. It is produced by someone else. And so it is, you know, I don't know exactly what the feeling about me is in the fandom. Certainly I have felt like people have taken on a more negative attitude towards me. There was something recently where I think it was someone made an account where you could just submit anything and they would post it, like, through. So I know there were a lot of people talking for a little while about big users and little users, and big users look down on little users, and why do they just stick together and they have their own friend group? I hope people don't feel that way about me. I know I'm not the most active person in the community, and maybe that gives some people the impression that I'm just off talking to my friends and not talking to anyone else. I feel like I'm pretty reachable. Like, my DMs are open on Twitter. You know, I do stream on this channel pretty regularly. People can come around and message me if they want and get a hold of me if they want. I feel like I'm fairly accessible. And so I hope people don't feel like I'm just some snobby big user that isn't paying attention to the little users, because we do have a very small fandom, and you know, I know that I can't respond to every comment, partly because the comment system is so bad. I know one mistake I did make was on Skype. I made Skype for a very specific reason. I just let people add me and I just accepted them. And I know people have, like, tried to call me and stuff on there, and I haven't responded. I don't have the time to do one-on-one calls with people. You know, I hope that doesn't come across as snobby, but I'm certainly not the kind of person who's very community-minded. Like, I know some people, the community is very important for them. I tend to take the attitude in life that you got to focus more on real life interactions and friendships with people. And so I like being a part of the community, but I know I'm not as dedicated to it as some people are. So yeah, I just did feel like it was important to explain sort of my thoughts on this. And yeah, hopefully clear up maybe some, if you have any misconceptions, any misgivings you think about me right now in the chat, like, you can mention them and I can address them. Yeah, so I don't know if people think that I'm one of those big users not paying attention to people. We've got some really nice comments from people here. One from TT Fan 1, who was in the chat. Another thing is, like, I haven't really had the time to do voice acting stuff anymore. So I hope that doesn't capitalist hack fraud con man. That's wonderful. Don't be such a sellout. Don't know. End the TCC. Yeah, see, I could, even if I left, it would go on, and I don't think the content would change that much. I don't spend that much time on the gaming channel. I'd probably be doing some video gaming in that time anyway. So don't think that I'm wasting time streaming, because that time wouldn't be used anyway. Really nice comments. Charm, yes. Some people like me, but don't like the CGI videos. And I know I'm not going to win everyone over on that, and that's fine. Hey, I'm glad that you think mine is the best. Again, we're talking about the CGI stuff, and yeah. Well, this seems really positive. Overall, overrated voice actor. Well, if you don't like it. Yeah, so from what I'm scanning here to the best of my ability, yes, it looks like it's pretty positive, and there's some stuff that we sort of addressed already. But yeah, there we go. We've now gone through all of the feedback that we went. So now is the time. Chat. I'm going to open up chat. Let's see if... Can I paste this here so the live stream gets the chat? I don't know if it worked. Hey, there we go. All right. So I got the chat up. So I'm here right now. We've been discussing all of this stuff. If you want to ask me any questions now, most of the earlier shorts are not monetized. Mario Beyond 1. Yes, the Steven Hillenberg. I do remember reading that earlier. Reminds me of Steven Hillenberg. Yes, I definitely appreciate that. The Blue Snowplow, yeah. He did ask me about that. I do remember. It was about CGI, and that sort of thing. I do remember. So my when I saw that, here's my attitude towards it. I explained this in the CGI Q&A video I did a while back. The software I use is Blender. If anyone's ever interested, the software I use is Blender. There are a huge number of great resources that I personally learned everything I know about Blender from on the internet already. I know some people really want me to do behind the scenes type stuff, and they've got a lot of questions for me about how to do that sort of stuff. And I am going to be honest with you, I just don't want to end up being in a situation where I don't want to do tutorial videos because it just doesn't interest me. I don't want to be spending considerable amounts of time answering questions about this sort of stuff. There are lots of other people who are doing CGI very effectively, better than I am, in fact, in some cases, in the community at the moment. And so, yeah, I just don't want to be the 3D guru that everyone asks questions to. I'd rather talk about the content I do, the show, and my attitude towards this is CGI is a tool I know people are very passionate about CGI and just 3D in general, but my attitude is it's just a tool to get the kind of shorts that I want. And so I don't want to be too up in the whole CGI world. It's just not something that interests me, and it does, become very... So, if the specific resources that I recommend are Blender Guru. He has an introductory video to Blender, introductory playlist. His name is, so let me just write it in the chat. The ones I recommend you look at are Blender Guru, absolutely, cgcookie.com. You have to pay for most of the CG Cookie stuff, but it is worth it. It is quality stuff. And you can look at the official Blender Studio does a whole bunch of tutorials, and that will, if you follow like Blender Gurus or the CG Cookie introductory courses, and they are going to update them for 2.8 soon, and maybe you want to wait for that, but yeah, that will get you started, and you will be able, and just YouTube in general, if you have a specific question, how do I do such and such, invariably there will be a tutorial about it somewhere. And yeah, Blender Artists, is it blenderartists.org, I think, or is it .com? I'm not sure. There's a forum called Blender Artists. All right, let's look at some of these other questions. Special edition Tomy engines be featured? Nah, I'm not going to do special edition engines. Was Percy back then? It was more of a joke. Yeah, I mean, I don't do this series to be preachy by any means. It was more of a commentary on the fact that there was like such a, not really. It's not a commentary. It was more of a joke about the fact that there's just so many male engines on Sodor and so few female engines, right? And even though yes, we know like the trains don't really have affectionate feelings or anything like that. It was just supposed to be like, a joke about that gender imbalance and what the logical conclusion must lead to so far as, the engines dating. Some of them would have to be gay, right? That's what it was a joke about. So not a joke about being gay, but about the gender imbalance in the show. Hello, Stephen Garcia. I am actually quite a bit further up. I'm going to have to just go to the bottom and people can repeat anything. Let's see. You can't go to the beginning of the stream. Once the stream is finished, you'll be able to do that. CGI Diesel. Yes, CGI Diesel is coming. I can never do every character, no, unfortunately. Well, Lady's already in CGI. Boko is very likely to be added. Duke, maybe not so much, because I don't know about the narrow gauge railway. Are you waiting for reaction videos of a brony on the line? I don't like reaction videos, and I don't want people to make them of my shorts, to be honest. Yeah, well, I don't know. I will make the all of the characters based on the BR class, so as I need them, basically. So what I have. We've got Diesel, Paxton, we have Sydney, then we have Ari, Burt, and Splatter and Dodge, and Ari, Burt, Splatter, and Dodge basically have the same faces, so that's helpful. Yeah, I definitely go for Diesel and Ari and Burt first, I think. Maybe Paxton afterwards. What are your thoughts on the earlier shorts? What do you think was your high point? I think the best short... I mean, I agreed with the ones, like, I probably think my favorite of the original shorts is probably Trick or Treat or Full Dream Ahead. Making sure an engine's nose is bleeding, that's interesting. What models are you currently working on? Currently, I'm not working on any. I'm just finishing off a video, and then, as I said, like, it's probably going to be Toby. Probably going to be Toby next. Was the Scruffy arc ever finished? Well, this is the thing. I didn't have a long plan for it. So maybe it's not finished and we'll come back to it. We'll see. I'm doing well. Mark loves trains. Yeah, Bill and Ben should probably quite easily come back to CGI because, well, I only have to make one of them, don't I? And otherwise they're basically identical, apart from a few little changes. If I made Brendam, it would not have Carly, and it might have Mickey. I don't know. Cranky definitely, but the other cranes I don't really care for. Sorry, my dude. Yeah, as I said earlier, I just don't have the time for all the other voice acting roles. Yeah, I think Spencer will definitely be in at some point, right? Sorry, dude. I think after this, I've actually got some housework to do. Can't play Roblox. What will season 23 TCC out? I'm not sure what you're asking there. I don't think Flora quite is a duplicate of Toby, though. So Flora would need a lot of her own work. And who needs Flora? Scruffy will probably be in the CGI shorts. He really should be already. He's not that hard to make. I don't think I will be making that reference, the old Warriors voice acting lines. Has there ever been a cancelled Tomica Thomas episode? That's an interesting question. Yeah, there has been. The very first episode for Tomica Thomas and Friends is not, for instance, Emo Engines was not the first episode that I made. I actually filmed an entire other first episode based around New Year's Eve that was never released. And there's been other things over the years, projects I don't usually get to the filming stage and cancel things anymore, but yeah, there's definitely been a few bits and pieces here and there. Yeah, there was a Halloween short for that. That's another example of something that got cancelled. That Halloween short, I don't quite remember. It was like Edward was hosting a Halloween party type thing. I think the storyline ended up really being continued through other stuff, but yeah. Yes, episode 2 of Tomica Thomas and Friends, I started filming that too, and I had wrote a script, and it did start with Henry like in the collapsed suspension bridge or whatever, I believe. And it started really with Neville being new on the island after being introduced in the This Is Halloween music video. There is stuff coming up with the TCC. That should be out in the next month or so. Yeah, more TCC is coming. Yes, but I won't go into detail other than that. We've been on break, so I've done a collab before. I did one with Sidekick Jason. I don't know, with just how long it takes me to do stuff these days. If I was doing easy stuff, it might be more worth it. Extended the Great Bridge Jump, maybe. I feel like its moment has passed. Will you ever release the unreleased pilot? So there are actually 3 pilot episodes, I guess, that were made before I decided to do Tomica Thomas and Friends. Unfortunately, 2 of them exist in pretty decent quality. There's a few glitches in the video. One of them, I think, has been totally lost. I suffered a hard drive failure, basically, many years ago. And though I was able to... I've got a whole bunch of footage and stuff from them. The final edits, I don't really have any of that stuff anymore, so... But I don't think I would ever release them. I think that they're just lost to time at this point. Real-life engines in Play-Rail style shorts, not just the famous ones. Maybe, I guess. I'd like to do an Australian engine. Anyone can be part of the Fandom Lego entertainer. I doubt there will be Hornby models in the TCC, especially now that Hornby doesn't make them anymore. I haven't spoken to UC Weapon in years, I'm afraid. I don't think he's really making videos anymore. I think he uploaded something recently. Did he do something recently, or is that him? Oh yeah, I'm just on his channel right now. He did something 5 months ago. Yeah, he's done a few things recently. But yeah, he just doesn't do that much content anymore. Yep, yeah, I've seen the Thomas going to Italy stuff. Do you wish you made episode 2? Well, you know, maybe. Would have been better if I could have been able to do more episodes. Joke about stock footage used in shorts. Did I use that much stock footage? Ah, yeah. Do you think TTA Community Channel Remake Adventure Begin should be uploaded to Daily Motion? Maybe. That'll be on Percy Engine to do that, I'm afraid. Can you join the TCC? I don't think right now. I mean, what would you want to do? And this is the thing. Like, if you're ever curious about being involved, you can message one of us, but make sure you send some work samples about what you'd be interested to do. Organize a meetup. Unfortunately, we're pretty sparse across the globe, so I'm not sure how easy that would be able to do. What are your thoughts about Thomas going to Italy? It's mildly amusing, I guess. No Roblox today, but maybe later. Visit Indiana. That's a very specific state to visit. California or New York is much more likely. Yeah, I don't know. We have to finish off the last TTA Community remake. I know that Percy Engine had to manage some stuff with respect to the website. I've got to do some follow-up with it as well. If everyone had just submitted the clips that they reserved, it would be done by now, but unfortunately they didn't. Who's the one member of the fandom that left that you wish would come back? Mine is Miss Oliver and Blossom. Yeah. Yeah, I guess Miss Oliver and Blossom and Joey would be cool to see come back and do something. I don't know if they're going to, though. I honestly have not seen any of the Italy episodes, Mr. McHugh. So. Fair enough, Lego Entertainer. Alright then. Well, we are down to 37 people watching. We're at like 70 at the beginning, and it was quite strong. Hopefully, this. I'm happy to subscribe to fans if they don't fill my subscription feed up with any with too much junk, which some people do. I have subscribed to some people. They post a lot, and yeah. I use my subscriptions on my main channel to sort of see what's happening in the Thomas community, and it doesn't really work if it's just from the same people posting a lot of stuff. Yeah, see, this is the thing. It's like you can send writing works to me or Enterprising Engine 93. I don't know. Right now, with the TCC, we're waiting for certain things to fall in place, and then we might look into getting more people. But all right, are you interested in railways? To some extent, I am going to wrap this up right now. So yes, I hope that this has been informative for the people who enjoy my stuff. I am obviously going to take a lot of the feedback that I got into consideration. We know Knapford, we know Tidmouth Sheds. These are the sets that I have to make, right? These are the sets that I have to make. And yeah, Toby, I wanted to make Toby, right? And that was... Oh, thoughts on Article 13. That's the one thing I will finish this up with. Look, I am concerned about it because I suspect that most of my content will get blocked in Europe if Article 13 passes, which would suck. So yeah. you guys are probably too young to really be involved in this, but if you live in the European Union, you want to keep watching my content, you should contact your local your MEP, your member of the European Parliament, and tell them don't pass Article 13, right? Because yeah, I imagine my content will probably get blocked if Article 13 passes. When will Emily be finished? Not sure. All right then, guys. That is it for this live stream. I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section of this video. I'll try and get back to them. But yeah, any more ideas, any more feedbacks, you can leave it there. And that's it. Thank you all for watching, guys. And I will see you maybe next weekend. I'll do another stream. We'll see.